They can put on their party hats. All right. Well, welcome everybody. And I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's raining here in Portland after a beautiful day for the protest yesterday. And so we're sputtering into spring. It's nice to see everybody. And I'm really happy today because my friend Mark Block is going to give his Way-Seeking Mind talk. And as you know, we've known each other a long time, but even through, when we give these Way-Seeking Mind talks, sometimes you find out things about people that you've known for a long time that you didn't really realize, because we can't read each other's minds, and sometimes, I think I can read my son's mind, but I'm not always right. And I for sure can't read Mark, so I'm looking forward to it. Mark is, I'm not going to go on about him too much because that's the tendency everyone has. Everyone loves Mark. He's a wonderful guy. He's, really an upright person with a deep well of compassion. He's been married to my BFF there forever, almost 50 years. And I just love him. And he's been sitting with Peter's group at Oak Street Zendo for the last couple of years. And so he's ready. He's ready to go. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you all. Uh, I know, I feel like I know many of you, but mostly through Zoom, a few of you outside of Zoom. So I figured I would start at the beginning and hopefully not go on too long. But anyway, I'm 71 years old and I was born and raised in a small town in the Bay Area of California, um, along with Gretchen and Cynthia. Um, my mother was an only child, Italian Catholic family. My father was one of 13, Polish Catholic family. So you might guess I was raised Catholic, and you would be right. Uh, I I think our family Catholicism was important, but it wasn't the only thing or the most important thing. I think my parents were really hardworking, and providing for their family was at the top of the list. And we went to church and we were practicing Catholics, and that was important too. But I kind of say we were probably about a 5 or 6 on a scale of 1 to 10 in devoutness. So um, I feel like I had a good family life, a good upbringing. Um, there was a lot of alcohol in our family. It just was sort of the habit, and it. I mean, my parents were never violent or anything like that, but it just was something that was modeled from when I can remember. Um, so I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, and I've mentioned this before, so I'll repeat it. But one of my first spiritual experiences was in 6th grade, wanting to be an altar boy, which was not allowed until 7th grade. Um, there was a 6:30 mass on weekdays, and um, I would go to that mass, and it would be the priest, myself, and about 3 people. So I was allowed to serve mass, and I can remember walking. We only lived a couple blocks from the church, and it might be raining or foggy or dark, and it was it just was a ritual that I really enjoyed, and I think I enjoyed the candles and the incense and the Latin. Um, the teaching probably wasn't quite as important as the ritual of it. Um, Unfortunately, and this is a story I don't tell very often, is in eighth grade when I was a full-fledged altar boy, I also had my first experience experimenting with alcohol. The We would serve mass or serve funeral mass during the week, and the priest would rush off to the cemetery to continue the service, and it was left to the altar boys to straighten up. And we would take drinks out of the wine bottle that was used to fill the crucibles. And for a long time, I thought that was kind of cute and um, a funny story, but I've since, you know, come to realize that it was a terrible time to start doing that, and did not, set me on the right path. At any rate, I also went to a four-year Jesuit high school, all male, and again I had a good experience. It was I had some success athletically. There was a lot of young teachers there that were interesting. But we continued to experiment and party, and never to the point of not being able to go to school or study and or play sports. But it just again was prevalent in my life. And um, I also want to say that I wasn't. We didn't know what was going on in the Catholic Church. We definitely knew there was some priests that were weird, and we stayed away from them. But nothing, no knowledge of the abuse that happened. So I don't want to make it sound like it was, I don't want to gloss over that, because I think I feel for the people, and I know some people that ultimately came out and had been abused. So that was unfortunate, but I appreciated the Jesuit education I got. There was a saying that sounds like a cliche, but we talked about being men for others, and that was taught, and I feel like that was an important lesson. Um, it was also about the time that Gretchen and I kind of, uh, were, knew each other, and we started to. There was a kind of girl group and a guy group, and we palled around. We were not high school sweethearts; we were friends, and Cynthia was part of that group too. And I had a good high school um, experience. I think going to college, I look at it as like a pivotal decision, because many of my classmates went down the road to continue the Jesuit education at Santa Clara University, and um, for me, I chose to go up the road to Berkeley and go to University of California, and it was really I did not lead a sheltered life, but Berkeley really opened up a whole new world for me. It was 1971, so it wasn't exactly the hottest of the hotbed in the late 60s or middle 60s, but it was still a lot of stuff going on, and it was just a really exciting place to be. Um, Again, as I'm wont to do, lots of experimenting, lots of new things to experiment with, and Grateful Dead concerts, and just a feeling of freedom. And again, I was able to go to class for the most part and make it through and end up with a degree. So a lot of the partying, I think, was what some people would call somewhat normal, but it definitely was just another time in my life that I was doing those kinds of things. My second year in, I remember feeling like what am I doing? Who am I? And so I went to the Newman Center, which is the usually the Catholic center of a university, and thinking maybe Catholicism might be something to get back into and help me out. And I talked to a really nice young priest. We had a nice conversation, and I left realizing that that was not going to be the path for me. Um, so that didn't take. The other thing that happened on a regular basis was the Hare Krishnas hung out in the plaza, and they were ringing their bells and dancing, and they would offer a free dinner, come to the house for dinner. And so I did take them up on that one night and went to dinner, and once again left knowing that that was not going to be the path for me either. um, so towards the end of college, another kind of pivotal moment in my life, and a really important, wonderful one, is Gretchen and I reconnected. And you know, basically, we fell in love, and it was a really happy, wonderful time. We had a lot of adventures. We definitely seemed to want the same thing. We traveled. We built a house. We had a farm in Oregon, and we just it's at age 23 and 24 or 22, you don't look 50 years ahead and say, wow, this is where I'm going to be. But it's just amazing to me when I look back and remember how little I knew, and here we are. Um, it hasn't been all milk and cookies, that's for sure. We've had our challenges, but we've been able to weather them, and I'm very thankful for that. Um, we lived in Oregon and Washington for a while, and then in 1982, after having our first son, we moved back to California. And another obvious, very important part in my life, or time in my life, was having kids. And it's again, it's been a challenge, but just something that I think is very special. And anyway, so we're back in California, and my family had been in a printing business. I got back into the printing business after being a building contractor, and we lived in Aptos over the hill on the coast. And it feels like we started living a conventional life, more conventional life. Um, we there was a place called the Unity Temple that we attended for a time. Our kids were baptized in the Unity Temple. Um, we drifted away from that, and then Gretchen had a background in the Unitarian Fellowship a little bit, so we attended that for quite a number of years, and they were both kind of community-based places, not so much dogma, and that seemed to fit us. Although as our kids got into high school and were not quite as interested, we drifted away from that too. Um, Again, alcohol was in our lives, and we socialized a lot. We worked hard, and um, we the business I was in required a fair amount of socializing. So that was kind of the life we were living. Um, I think around this time, I call them my brushes with Buddhism. I think Gretchen ended up buying a copy of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and I remember, I'm not sure when it was, but I think it was the late 80s. The price on it says $4.50, so I'm sure it was then or around then. And I remember picking it up and reading probably 3 or 4 pages and scratching my head and saying, "Well, I don't get this at all." And it's this book has sat in our library since then, and I'm very thankful it was, because a couple of years ago when I picked it up, it started making a lot of sense, and it was really wonderful to have. Um, we were familiar with Tassajara, and we went and spent a weekend there in the 90s. That was really great fun. It was part of we were just guests, and I think we did a little intro to the Zendo and maybe a 5-minute sit, and it was very enjoyable, and we loved it, but it didn't quite take then either. And then we also visited Cynthia at City Center, I think in around 2000, or when she lived there, and I actually met Roger and spent a couple nights. We didn't sit, we just kind of stayed and had fun in the city. But again, I call them my sort of brushes with Buddhism. In the early 2000s, my father died, and it was a pretty tough time for us. He was a big presence in our family and in our lives, and um, we also started a second business, and Gretchen, was a home furnishings and art gallery. So she was running that business, and I was running the printing company, and it became really stressful. It was a tough time, and I was pretty unhappy doing what I was doing. I was trying to sell the business, and it wasn't working out, and financially we were doing okay, but it's just I was sort of done. And anyway, I was pretty shut down, and I think you can say it a lot of different ways, but Gretchen and I hit the wall, and we separated for a time. And it was really kind of a dark time and a scary time. It was, we had been married 30 years at that point, and it was it was a hard time. And I remember I wasn't sleeping very well, and I realized if I need to be clear-headed and I need to get a good night's sleep. So I didn't drink one day, and I woke up the next day, and lo and behold, I felt better. And so I didn't drink that day either. And um, I'm happy to say that that was February 10th in 2007, and I've been sober since. And it's I don't want to, I don't look at it as being easy, but it just seemed like I was done with it, and um, I haven't really looked back too much, and I have other issues, believe me, and I have a personality that can be compulsive and addictive, habitual, whatever you want to call it. But thankfully, that part it seems to be back there in the past. I think Gretchen and I both realized that we needed to work on ourselves individually before we could come back together and see if we could, make something work. So we did separate retreats. She chose one and I chose one, and then we did what the other one had done separately after that. And I I ended up at a place called Star in Arizona. It was a wonderful place. It was a 10-day retreat, and it wasn't connected to any it was about childhood traumas and whatnot. And but I had another brush with Buddhism there when somebody recommended Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart, and just totally appropriate. The timing couldn't have been better because things had really fallen apart. But it was my first experience with, you know, there's no joy without sadness, no pleasure without pain. And another thing that I got is she talks about leaning into the discomfort. And that's something that's really kind of helped me throughout my life, is to not turn away or run away from the discomfort, but lean into it. The other thing, just to backtrack for a minute, is in my family of origin, my birth family, we didn't communicate so well. It wasn't encouraged. It was kind of like don't rock the boat and put a smile on your face. So um, when I got sober, I became a much better communicator. Probably some people think too much of a communicator by talking more than I ever had. But that time was really important. And I can't. I'm so thankful that Gretchen and I were able to find a space again for us, and we're still here, and I just appreciate that so much because we, you know, I look back on those early days, and I know that we're meant to be together. Um, so out of that, a huge life change came for me. I was able to sell my part of the business, and I went back to school, and I got a nursing degree. Um, and I'm not recommending our method of making a big change, but sometimes you have to do that to make the change. And for me, getting into nursing was just it was such a good fit for me, and it felt like more of who I am. Um, I was I was really fortunate. A wonderful woman at Valley Medical Center in San Jose um, had no hesitation, at least no outward hesitation, about hiring a 58-year-old new grad nurse. And it's just, I was able to have a 10-year nursing career, and I loved it. I was on a unit that was really supportive when I was a bedside nurse, and then Valley Medical runs a really robust healthcare for the homeless program that I started working in, and I loved working there. It's a great program. It continues to be a great program today. Um, so during that time too, another brush with Buddhism was being able to attend Cynthia's ordination, and that was really a special time. And again, we loved being there. It didn't quite take at the time either, but it was a wonderful experience. Fast forward a little bit to when Selwood Soto Zen started, and again, Gretchen and Cynthia have been really good friends. So, and me as well. But we wanted to support um, Cynthia, and so we started. We showed up at Selwood Soto Zen, and for me, it was like, yeah, I'm gonna go and check it out, um, and it just it became so comfortable and so amazing to what Kirk and Cynthia had put together, and now Stephen, and it just it feels like such a wonderful place to be, and that really kind of kicked us off to the practice of Buddhism. it didn't take long, a few months, to feel like once a week wasn't quite enough, and we Gretchen started sitting with Peter's group in the morning, and as often happens, she's a step or two ahead of me on this, but I fell in, and we've been sitting with Peter's group, uh, for a year and a half, or almost 2 years now. I guess it's coming up, but that's been really wonderful too. And I think that the when I think about the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and I know Suzuki Roshi said something, I think, to the effect that how important Sangha is, and I think I that really resonates with me, because it's I believe fully that we all have a Buddha nature, and I also appreciate the Sangha and the community we have. The Dharma, the teachings, I think I'm still scratching my head over the Dogen class, but uh, I'll keep chipping away at that. And as far as my personal practice, I do I I find that it's not hard for me to show up for Zazen. Um, Zazen itself is not particularly easy, or I think I'm like a lot of people. My mind wanders incessantly, and full disclosure, I'm not sure I ever have been able to count to 10 breaths without having a wandering thought come in, but I keep trying. So, um, but I just, I really appreciate the community part, the Sangha part, and I appreciate being here with all of you. And I look forward to someday hopefully meeting people in person, and I hope that would be possible. But I just I, I really appreciate this, and I know I've gone on too long, but if I may, I'd like to end with a poem. And I've been reading a lot of Gary Snyder lately, and I really like this poem, and I think the big part of it is it's applicable in today's world as it was, I think, in the 70s, early 70s or late 60s when he wrote it. And I read it here because I really appreciate the connection with all of you. So it's called For the Children. The rising hills, the slopes of statistics lie before us. The steep climb of everything going up, up, as we all go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, our valleys, pastures, we can meet there in peace, if we make it. To climb these coming crests, one word to you and your children. Stay together, learn the flowers, go light. Thank you.